Preliminary. Since my first essay, rather, my practice essay, inhabited within itself one from the pair of synthesis paragraphs I have written, it should, therefore, follow that my second essay should inhabit its corresponding paragraph. My first topic spoke of the Indo-European languages, the topic of my second synthesis, its significant other, bound together in holy matrimony, must concern the first synthesis, about the sport which, for many in my country of origin, rises them as though it were no less than a family member, cricket. Introduction. Cricket, to me, may be the perfect cross between chess and football, the union between the mental and the physical. From football, the real football, it claims for itself the need for stamina, the need for skill, speed, strength and more. From chess, extracts cricket, the need for cognition, tactics, but also a collection of head-scratching rules. For one to enter into this sport, unprepared, can be an absolute disaster, seeing all the complications lying ahead of them. For those interested, or those wishing for themselves a quick refreshment, I shall present this essay. Although I shall only be sticking to the basics needed for a one-on-one, at no point shall I abandon the reader to the oblivion of confusion. Let's play. To start with, let us say that you and I wish to play cricket. How do we go about doing so, just the two of us? Before we get to the actual playing, we will need, for this wish, some equipment, a bat and a ball. They may be made of plastic, wood, leather, or whatever suits our environment. Let us suppose one of us to hold the bat, the other, then, must throw the ball. This dialectic act raises for us a few more questions, which we will now examine. Toss. Say, we are only to take turns with the bat and ball, not getting serious yet. How do we decide who is to bat or bowl first? The age-old solution is a toss, preferably with a coin. Still, the bat itself works fine. One person is to toss, the other to call out a side. Whoever is to win, is to decide whether to bat or to bowl first. Suppose you win the toss, then proceed to choose to bat first. This leaves me to bowl first. Each turn we take to bat and bowl is called an innings. Bowling. Now that I am to bowl, this means that I must stand a certain length away from you, then release the ball towards you. Akin to most other sporting stances, I will not stand looking to you with my legs perpendicular, but rather, that one will be in front and one will be behind. Since I am right-handed, my right hand is to release the ball, leaving my left leg in front. The side of my utilized hand is known as my offside, with my forward leg being the appropriately named leg side. After I have bowled, the ball will likely bounce at least once before reaching your swinging bat. What it does next will determine the type of ball I am bowling. Spin. The slower, on average, of the two types. To spin a ball means to bowl in such a way that the ball, after bouncing, will not go straight, but rather turn slightly to a particular side of my choosing. In order to accomplish that task, I must put a spin on the ball while it is in the air. Now, the next question: where will the ball spin? Off spin. Since I am right-handed, my offside is, hence, on my right side. Off spin will, therefore, be the name given to the ball, which, after bouncing, turns to the right, so you might think. That is called the off break. Off spin, or else known as finger spin, includes the off break. Along with other variations, an off spinner has to keep the batsman on his toes. The off break is the stock delivery. The other variations are the doosra, a ball that turns to the leg side; the top spinner, a ball that doesn't turn, but has a big bounce; the teesra, a ball that I don't quite understand; the arm ball, that does nothing; and finally, the carom ball, that after bouncing, behaves like a snake, suddenly speeding to its victim. Leg spin. As with off spin, leg spin, or else known as wrist spin, includes the leg break, a ball that turns to the leg side after the bounce, along with the leg spinner's other variations, such as the googly, which turns to the offside instead; the top spinner, which does the same as its off counterpart; the slider, which does nothing; and finally, the flipper, which, with its backspin, hurries towards the batsman, staying below the radar. Despite the possibility of spin being open to any pitch, it is recommended that spin be used on a surface that is more hard and dry, to give the to-bounce ball more friction as a colleague. Lastly, I should mention Even though the pairs off spin and finger spin and leg spin and wrist spin are interchangeable, rarely, there can be a bowler who bowls wrist off spin, like myself. Pace. Pace, sometimes known as seam, or fast, is the, on average, speedier of the two styles. Though it may seem straightforward, no pun intended, pace bowling surprises with more variations than a beginner can imagine. Before we continue, we need to note that the aforementioned offside and leg side also applies to pace deliveries. Length. Even though spinners can, in theory, mix up where their ball bounces in relation to the batsman, ultimately, the variation is the most crucial factor. Contrasted with this, pace bowling puts many emphasis on how far away from the batsman the ball bounces. The closer to the batsman, the fuller the delivery, while the further from the batsman, the shorter the delivery. Swing. Suppose one side of a boat were to row faster than the other, the end result should appropriately be the boat turning ever so slightly. Likewise with the ball, if air traveled quicker through one smooth side, the ball would turn towards the rough side, where the air is stuck in bits of traffic. Swing is categorized, not by their relation to the bowler, but by their relation to the batsman. One that swings away is called the outswinger, while one that swings towards, the inswinger. For reasons I cannot explain momentarily, the ball will, later, swing in the direction of the shiny side. This is named reverse swing. Seamer. In professional matches, a ball with a thick seam is used. Oftentimes, a bowler will bowl the ball deliberately so that the ball remains upright. This ball will bounce on the seam and then turn ever so slightly to a side. It is from this action that pace bowlers can sometimes be referred to as seam bowlers. Knuckleball. As with the shape of the knuckle, this ball simply refuses to pick a side. A knuckleball can be bowled by placing the ball on your knuckle, or nails, before releasing. This is, in addition to being a knuckleball technique, one of many techniques to bowl a slower ball. Special. A pacer's length will vary from shorter to fuller, but at the two ends of this spectrum, we have two special deliveries. A bouncer, appropriately named, is a very short ball, that often goes as high as the batsman's shoulder. A yorker, on the other hand, is a ball so full, it bounces right at the batsman's feet. It is possible, still, to go fuller, but we must keep to the subject. Cutters. Pace is often recommended on surfaces that are soft and green, but it is still possible to find success on surfaces suited to spin. A pacer, when really desperate, can attempt a cutter. A slower ball that bounces and turns, not as much as a spin, but like spin, is named off and leg in relation to the bowler. Batting. Now suppose we have had enough of me bowling and you batting. Let us swap gear and roles, to let me bat, and you bowl. In order to bat, I must hold the bat by its handle and face towards the bowler. As a right-hander, my left leg is in front, within my batting stance. The corresponding offside and leg side apply to me, still the same. Now that the ball is coming towards me, I must play a shot. How? Wait. Every shot I play can be divided into two types, depending on where my weight is distributed. If my center of gravity is further forward, it is a front foot shot, while if it is further back, it is a back foot shot. This is typically ignored when naming the shots. Shots. Now moving on to the shots themselves. There are numerous disagreements concerning the name of shots. I am only going to present the 5 basic shots that every batsman will need when beginning to learn how to bat. Block. Not necessarily a shot, but I consider it one. To play a good block, I must bring the momentous ball to a complete stop, with a downward facing bat. It is recommended, as with the other shots, to hit the ball with the sweet spot of the bat. That is, the part of the bat with the most willow, or whichever material in our use. Cut. To play a cut shot, I must swing my bat horizontally and slice the ball, which should go, ideally, perpendicular to my bat at time of impact. Cuts are typically played on the back foot, on the offside. Drive. To drive the ball, I must present my bat vertically, pushing the ball in the direction of the bat. Drives are mostly played on the front foot, on the offside, with limited exceptions. Flick. To perform a flick, I must simply tap the ball with a vertical bat to push it in the intended direction. Flicks are usually played on the front foot, on the leg side. For a batsman, the leg side is also known as the onside. Pull. To pull the ball, I must swipe the bat horizontally, across my body, to heave the ball in the corresponding direction. Pulls are often played on the back foot, always on the onside. Names. Before moving on, a final remark. Though a shot can just be called by its type name, it is common courtesy to name a shot, depending on which part of the field the ball goes after the shot is played. I will not be presenting field positions here, but feel free to go look on your own. Wickets. After a few swaps as a warm-up, we decide to, as some say, up our game. Instead of arbitrarily deciding when to exchange the bat and ball, we come up with a solution. To give the bowler a target of sorts. This target of the bowler is to take the batsman's wicket. Once the batsman loses his wicket, he is to be considered out. There are at least 2 handfuls of ways of getting out, but only 4 are really common in our situation, but one will be kept secret. Bold. Say I am the batsman. Behind me is located an object I must protect. This object sprinkles ambiguity with its wicket name. The moment the ball travels through my defense, hitting the wicket, or stumps as they are alternatively known, I am out. Bold. Caught. Now, it is your turn to bat yet again, but, oh number. What has happened here? I have bowled to you the ball, which you have hit up in the air. If I can just move quickly, the ball lands safely in my hands, without bouncing. You are out. Caught. LBW. Maybe the most complicated of all. Now that I am back to bat, you bowl yet again. First time, I was bowled, while this time, I would have been bowled, if not for my meddling legs. The ball did not touch my bat, before my leg, nor did it bounce on my leg side, nor did the ball strike me on the offside, as I was playing the shot. I am now out. LBW. Leg before wicket. I suggest the reader research further. Runs. Now, we are still plagued with one bit of inefficiency. For each innings, we can test only our bowling skills. What way is there to test for our batting counterpart? Each sport has its own point system, whether goals or holes. In cricket, they take the form of runs. How does a batsman go about scoring runs? Purposefully, in 2 ways. Accidentally, in 1. Running. The first technique of getting runs is by running back and forth between where the bowler is bowling from and the wicket, after you've hit the ball. Every time you reach one end, you get an additional run. Be careful, however, as if the ball hits the wicket and you are not at the end, you will lose your wicket, in the aforementioned secret way. Run out. Boundaries. How much can you run in one delivery? At some point, it does become rather comical. To prevent the bowler from booking a flight in order to retrieve the ball, in the time the batsman is still going back and forth, we have a limit on the field, called the boundary. When the ball is hit beyond the boundary, it is called a boundary. Yet another ambiguity. The moment the ball travels beyond, the batsman retrieves 4 runs, while if the travel is bounceless, it is 6. Extras. Extras matter, in our situation, not as much, which is why I will not focus on them, as they are quite the headache to explain. Since cricket is, technically, a team sport, batting is not done just by one batsman. A run that counts for the batting team, but not the batsman, is called an extra. Game. Now, we are all set to meet back tomorrow, to play our first match. First, the toss, is to decide who is to do what first. Whoever bats, is to stay batting until he is out however many times we decide, setting for the other, a target. The other is to attempt to chase down how many runs is required to win. Whoever ends the match with the most runs, wins the game. May the best player win. Conclusion. While this essay was originally going to explain every building block of cricket, it already contains of 2,400 words and counting. To spare the reader from receiving a hiding from this particular text, I have decided to cut most of its content out. I hope you still enjoyed this read regardless and are ready to play some cricket. Whatever else is bothering you, I hope to explain on YouTube.